We know how everyone feels about CJ Stroud 8 games into his rookie career, but how are we feeling about Will Anderson? It's a very polarizing topic. There's a lot of different opinions, and we'll hear what his coach has to say about it as well. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about.
CJ Stroud is the toast of the NFL. He's getting the primetime stage, even if the Texans are not. But the guy that was selected after him, Will Anderson, despite being a solid player, a solid contributor, according to the coaching staff, he's kind of become polarizing as things can be when you're feeling as good as you are about the Texans, a polarizing topic 8 games into his rookie career, into his NFL career in his rookie season, I should say. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610, 10 to 2 Central, and the Odyssey app. We're going to have another Texans practice player straight off of the practice field tomorrow, so be sure to subscribe, right along with us for that. I posed a question on Twitter. It was very simple. One word, and this was before Sunday when Will Anderson got his second sack. What one word would you describe the first 7 games of Will Anderson's career? What one word would you use? Here are the words that we got. Flashes, grinder, steady, and potential. That's not one word. Expected, meh, decent, exactly, promising, wanted, successful, expensive, unleashing, driven, solid, potential. You can see the back and forth. Right on pace, patience, controversial, clowny, promising, perspective, average, disruptive, Mr. Making Plays, dog, impressive, steady pass rusher and run stopper, solid, working, underwhelming, consistent. Listen to all these words. Teammate, solid, hustles, 22, barely, disruptive, close, pressure, steady, dog, more, dog, laggy, solid, controversial, foundational, future, lacking, beast, promising, disruptive, disappointing, promising, disappointing, decent, promising, solid, promising, encouraging, promising, pleased, educational, 2 thumbs up from Borat, promising, mid, meh, mid, disruptive, underwhelming, culture, JJ Watt-esque, solid, rookie, encouraging, methodical, close, rookie, respectful, okay, solid, who, damn, solid, picks, dud, meh, okay, quiet, vanish, Watt, promising, solid, potential, attention, lackluster, potential, impactful, Kyle Vandenbosch, mid, monster, underwhelming, clowny, 1 sack. It's now 2. So that's what we got from the question about Will Anderson. So there's obviously a lot of opinions. This isn't one of those straw mans. Some people are saying, some people are describing it as disappointing. Some people are describing it as promising. Let's hear from Matt Burke, his defensive coordinator. This was before Sunday's game. What Matt Burke had to say. And before we get to that, I will get to my one word. What do you think? Put it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, right along, because a lot of people look at Will Anderson as a very expensive player. You traded up to get him. I look at Will Anderson and CJ Stroud as a package deal. You liked Will Anderson the most, which might not even help the case, depending on how you feel. That might make it even crazier. But I look at Will Anderson and CJ Stroud as package deals. There's also something that I don't think is taken into account that we should take into account. But before we hear from Matt Burke, let's get into some of these stats that were official before Sunday. They might have actually gotten better given how he looked. Will Anderson led the team in pressures with 18 and QB hits at 26. So despite not getting the sacks, he's pressuring the quarterback the most and he's hitting the quarterback the most. He also was 4th in the NFL in pass rush win rate at 27.8%. I got a lot of these stats from DJ Bieneme of ESPN. Shout out to him, and Patrick Storm at Storm Report. So he was 4th in the NFL in pass rush win rate, and he's winning at over a 25% clip. He was 4th most in the NFL in double teams. He was behind Garrett and Parsons. Those were the first two. That's courtesy of ESPN Stats and Info. So he's getting respect. He's getting attention. He's just not getting to the quarterback as much as maybe you would like 8 games in just twice. Let's hear what Matt Burke had to say about this. Texans defensive coordinator Matt Burke, what he had to say. Then I'll get into something else that I don't think we take into account with Will Anderson. I'll give my one word to describe Will Anderson's start. Here's Matt Burke.
I feel like it's the same conversation. He had the sack taken away, negated by a penalty. And I think the message, Will's been impactful, man. I feel like I've said this a lot. I think he's already, as a rookie, one of the best run defenders on the edge in the NFL. Like, he's powerful and violent, set edges as good as a lot of people I've seen in this league. So, and then the rush thing, it's just not chasing sacks. Not getting frustrated. He affects the quarterback right now. He's close. His pressure rate's still really high. And I think his challenge is not getting frustrated by, the sack production. Again, you start chasing stats, it goes the wrong way. So I feel like last week, even though like his sack didn't end up on the production, everything else, that like those 6 sacks and all the pressures that we got, like he was a big part of that, of how he rushes. Again, we talk about rushing as a unit. And those guys, JG's not getting a sack if Will's not pressing the pocket to like push guys out that way, those sort of things. So I think the buy-in is there from all those guys that, like, now maybe next time JG's flushing a sack to Will, those sort of things, and the inside pocket's getting pushed. So I feel like I say the same thing every week. I feel great with where Will is and what he's been doing, and he is making a huge impact for this defense.
All right, so there you go. So he's already thinks he's elite as a run stopper. And let's be honest, we don't care. I don't want to say all of us. I don't want to generalize, but it doesn't seem like people care as much about edge guys stopping the run as they do sacks. The reality of the situation is Will Anderson could go out there on Sunday, assuming that he's going to play. He was at the Rockets game. He got a little nicked up. The injury report's going to be real interesting today, so we're keeping a close eye on that. We'll keep you updated on that on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610 starting in a couple of hours. It's the most anticipated injury report that I can remember. But if he goes out there against Cincinnati and he gets 3.5 sacks and all of a sudden he has 5.5 sacks, does that really change the way that he's played the first 8 games? That's kind of how ass backwards this whole sack thing is. Like, if he goes out there and has like a historic 5-sack day, like we've seen guys have, and I'm not saying he's going to do that, but all of a sudden, because he had one game where he had a ton of sacks and he had 6 games where he didn't get a sack, all of a sudden that just changes it. It kind of equals out. That's kind of ass backwards for me. Like, for me, when you're watching a guy play every play, and this was kind of the Clowney argument back in the day, I don't know that you're as much of a mercy to sacks. Now, if you're a Texans fan and you don't watch the Jags play every day and you look and you see Travon Walker and you see his sack total, you say, okay, well, what is he really doing? And then you talk to the guys and they say, hey, he's okay. He's decent against the run and all that. Kind of the same stuff we're saying about Will Anderson. And the bottom line is, if Will Anderson doesn't end up being a double-digit sack guy, then I think there's going to be some logic and there's going to be some reasoning for wondering, was it worth whatever you gave up for him in the draft and when you selected him? There is that. But I look at Will Anderson. I see a guy who's going to be here for a decade. I look at a guy who has been very reliable. He's been on the field. I look at a guy that if you watch every single play, he's involved. A lot of times he is drawing extra attention. A lot of times he is extremely close and he is forcing the quarterback to hurry. So I look at Will Anderson and I don't sit there and say, man, they'd really like to have that one back. I mean, I don't look at him like I do the last number 3 pick they had, Derek Stingley. Like, if I could get a time machine and I could go back in time, I think anyone in their right mind would want to do over with the Derek Stingley pick, no matter what. I just think if you're being honest with yourself, you would want to do over there. I wouldn't want that with Will Anderson. I like what I see. Of course, you've got to get a little bit more. When you're close, you've got to finish those plays. I would think he would agree with that. But I do think there's a balance between these advanced stats and the sacks that we always look at. I think there is. So my one word to describe Will Anderson would be good. I think it's been good. We'll see what happens moving forward. We'll see what that injury report says, but I would say good. I would say solid. I also take into account that the Texans had extra draft equity to trade to get Will Anderson. It's like going into a casino with $1,000 versus going into a casino with $300. You might be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to making bets, etc. What do you think? How would you describe Will Anderson's rookie season? How would you describe his start? We just showed that there's about 16,000 words that Texans fans use. The good thing is we're kind of nitpicking at this point because he's a very good player and the Texans are right in the playoff chase. So that's good. We've come a long way. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Let's keep an eye on that injury report. I'll talk to you all a little bit later on the stream. Put your comment in. What do you think? One word to describe Will Anderson's start to his NFL career. Appreciate you.
Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital.